Hello, everyone. It is me, Kella McCaskill, and I am super excited to talk to you about what we're doing next, right? It's always something amazing happening here with me, either on Fix This Block or the Center for Economic Development. We absolutely love what we get to do here for the community and just for people in general. Tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about income and asset protection. I recently hosted a workshop that talked about uh, financial education and legacy, and we just discovered so many different things as it relates to assisting people with understanding the importance of your asset protection, your income protection, and what that all means. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am for the first time visitors. My name is Kella McCaskill. I am a native here in Tampa, Florida, and I have been fortunate to work in the mortgage origination space. I've been fortunate to go inside of the financial institutions and where I became responsible for approving and denying multiple thousands, hundreds of thousands of loan mod requests, of short sale requests, of short payoffs. Like the requests were ridiculous back in the last crisis. So for the past 30 years, actually, I've been able to work through challenges as it relates to obtaining mortgages for individuals, working through the when the crisis happened. And so I've seen the happy side where we bought the homes. I wanted to make sure that not only did I help you buy, I also wanted to help you maintain your home, which is your most prized asset, more than likely, even in the event of your untimely death, right? And so how we do that is through income and asset protection, is what I call it. Translated, life insurance, investment, money management, understanding how money works. All of it plays into the grand scheme of things. And so the reason I say that is because as I work through in my nonprofit space, so a part of my why, a part of my what I get to do in life is I get to work with people to do just that. I've helped people for years qualify for homes. Then I help people for years buy and sell home. And I've done it at first time home buyer level all the way to world class athletes level. So I've been fortunate to work all sides of the spectrum, but my give back, how I give back to people, how I give back to the community, how I give back and fulfill what I believe is my God given task in life is to help people through this process because there's a lot of information that they do not know. And so I work through the Center for Economic Development and we offer housing education, financial education, but then we're also boots on the ground in the community, right? So in the community, we see the needs, the people facing code enforcement issues, those seniors and disabled persons that's challenged financially to keep up the home on the exterior and maybe even in the interior. But we do what we can to avoid issues with code enforcement and tax liens and things of that nature while they're living and so that they can age in place and to also control, implement programming to control and mitigate gentrification when it's unnecessary, like where it's not necessary. And so in doing that, I wanted to raise the awareness of the needs, which prompted me to want to document some of this stuff and call it Fix This Block. Well, through the Fix This Block initiatives, I knew that as we raise the awareness of the needs, it would help me draw the collaborative partners to help me bring transformation. But as a woman I'm coming from West Tampa, which is an area that's now being going through the gentrification process and redevelopment process now. I was low income housing, Oakhurst Square on the west side was the apartments and their family, like they're still there. Thankfully, that owner is working through the best way to do the transition because people are still living there. Right now, there's no affordable housing for them to go to necessarily. So working through that in a very smart way and in a way that's, that will just help the families to be able to make some decisions and have time to make the decisions is why I love that developer. But live there. And so I've seen what it is to come from that. I've seen how we live in that information that we don't have, how loan qualification differs depending on who you are. So it was my role, my responsibility to help as many people as possible buy the home, keep the home, even in the event of death. So I would often do workshops. So I was the loan originator. I was I had my own branch. I was a loan officer, I had my own branch. And then from there, the crisis happened in 2009. I got out, went to the financial institution. There's when I talked about approving and denying thousands and thousands and thousands of loan mods. And then I was responsible for a team responding to the OCC and into the bank. Like I said, one of the largest financial institutions in the US. But I had a desire to get out of there. I wanted to get into the community and make a difference. And that's what we did. So we came out to make a difference in the community. And there I start selling the real estate. But I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of things take place. Walking you through this journey, I've seen a lot of things take place. And I know that in life, the United States will keep having these cycles where we have our ebbs and flows, right? It'll go up, it'll go down. Things will be good, things will be bad, they'll be horrible. But in addition to the United States having their financial crisis, because we saw things happen as life navigates. When the crisis happened in 2000, let's see, when the crisis happened in 2008, 9, that was number 47. COVID happened, and that made it crisis number 48. We will always have a crisis. We will always have life that happens to us that changes the financial picture, but we can be prepared for that. I said all of that to say we can be prepared for that. And so I documented some of the reasons people suffer. I documented some of the reasons so many people suffered loss. And I didn't want to see it happen to anybody. I didn't want to see it happen again. And I made a promise that I would always work on the outside of the financial institution so that I can help people avoid things like this, so that I can help people work through challenges like this, so that we don't have to experience this again on that side. So people would be able to avoid those issues. And so that's why I created the nonprofit, and then we began to work in that space. And that's a good space for me because, like I said, I feel that I'm checking the boxes, I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to do as it relates to my why, as it relates to my purpose. So one of the reasons people faced hardship in some of those crises, as we look back through the things that took place in our country, a lot of people faced devastation financially because of the loss of that primary wage earner. What most people don't know is when your loved one, whoever primarily qualified for the home, when that individual passes away, that person, that income passed too. And too often people will say, well, I have insurance on my job. Great. But if they weren't employed when they passed away, you no longer have that insurance. Or they'll say, we're just going to do a cremation. That'll take care of the burial, which means oftentimes people can pay for it out of pocket. But what happens to the supplementing of that income? Or you'll see a GoFundMe, which means they didn't have the burial money, they didn't have anything, but the burial needs to take place. And the family has no idea who would supplement the income for the person that passed. And one of the things I've always talked about, sorry, is this just looking at myself, looking at this hair is throwing me off. So one of the things I've always thought about as an originator, I've always shared, going back to 20 years ago, I've always shared the importance of getting income and asset protection, which is essentially, initially, life insurance. Everyone needs life insurance. If you should pass away and you need to cover the burial and also have some monies to offset the expenses that they would normally cover. Back in the day, I can recall where African Americans, minorities, were excluded from getting term life insurance policies. So now I'm talking to you wearing a hat of an insurance agent, because fixing the block and redeveloping the community starts with making investments in education into the people. And then we transform. with buildings and everything else. So we put in programming, we put in services, we do everything we can in the community. We're trying to bring transformation, and ultimately we will also bring forward a development, right? So one of the things I know for sure that's lacking in what I call marginalized communities is insurance. We're missing out on benefiting from insurance. So back early, in fact, I want to give you the dates of that because I think facts are important, statistics. So historically, African Americans were largely shut out of traditional term and cash value insurance or subjected to Jim Crow policies featuring a high premium and lower payouts. This race based segregation and exploitation laid the foundation for a lingering coverage gap that financial institutions continue to address. And so the historical context is in the late 19th and early 20th century, mainstream insurance companies frequently classified Black Americans as substandard mortality risk. This was justified often because of flawed racist data, such as the Frederick L. Hoffman 1896 work, which is the race trait and tendencies of the African American Negro based on the distorted metrics of insurance. So we were largely denied insurance coverage, we were charged higher premiums, and we had reduced payouts. Oftentimes, those were whole life policies, right? And so in a whole life policy, there's a lot of things we'll talk about. I'll go over the details. The next one is going to be the difference between whole life and term, right? But what I will tell you is that in a term life policy, it's a lower premium with a higher coverage. And so the reason we were not at the table as it relates to term is because you would pay less and invest the rest, right? So for a whole life policy, you may be charged $150 a month and you only have $50,000 in coverage, but they tell you you can get a loan, right? Historically, people will be told you can get a loan. So the man that would knock on your door, or at least in our neighborhood, they would knock on your door and tell you all the things about your insurance. Everybody in my mom's building had the same insurance company. But when they died, the policies were probably like this. And so I knew that that was wrong, but you can't convince people what they don't know. Like all they knew was that they wanted to have an insurance company. People wanted to make sure their burial was intact so they can get buried. That's what they were worried about. And I believe that's what they were taught for generations. Once you got the opportunity to get insurance, you wanted to make sure you had your insurance so that you can pay for your burial, not necessarily leave a legacy, not necessarily give one up to the next generation, not necessarily help people in their dreams and their desires and things like that. So typically you should be thankful if your parents had a policy that covered their burial. And you should certainly thank them should they have given you a leg up, if you will, or an investment for some progress or opportunity money for you to move your dreams forward. But what I want to do is get back to where we are covered, essentially. Yes, you need life insurance, but I'm specifically talking about term life insurance. You need term life insurance because what I want to see happen, I would like to see our families and individuals and women and minorities where they would have term life insurance, which gives you the maximum or a better coverage with a lower premium. I would like to see families have term life with Primerica so that they can invest the rest. So if I told you that you could start a mutual fund for $50 to you young people for $50 and maybe pay $50 a month or $25 a month, whatever that is, at a percentage, you would be able to see how your money would grow. You could actually see, and we're going to do an exercise here. So stay tuned on this page. I'm going to show you how your money compounds over time. So just imagine you were paying $100 a month, right? Or $150 a month, and you only have $50,000 worth of insurance. If I told you I can get you $100,000 worth of insurance, and with that $100,000, you got $100,000 or more in coverage. And with the $50, I was investing in a mutual fund, and I showed you what that mutual fund would look like. Or better, You paid $100 in premium, $50 a month or more as time went on, and you saw how your money increased over time because it's in a mutual fund. So we want you to pay less and invest the rest, right? I want to see you have coverage because essentially what could happen is you don't have to have life insurance for the rest of your life. If you start young enough and you pay for the least amount of coverage, the rest goes into what's called a mutual fund, for you to have monies for emergencies and things like that. Once you have that mutual fund set, you can spread out to different mutual funds, but at least to have the basic. You may find that if you put enough in there, you may find in 10 years or 15 years when you actually need to make a deposit or make a demand on the funds that you put in the mutual fund, you may find that in 20 years or so, you have enough money where you don't need insurance anymore. You set some things in place. This is probably the smartest way to protect your income. Because what could happen is, just say you had a $300,000 policy, something happens, you pass away. We come deliver to you and your or to your family this $300,000 check. We know they have to pay for the burial, and they may take 100 of that, 100,000 of that, and then the 200 goes into a mutual fund at a 10 or 12%, which has been paying that since they started. They've been paying the high 10s or 12% since they've started. No bank right now, none of your banks are giving you that type of return. So we wouldn't encourage that you put it in the bank. We would encourage that you put it in a mutual fund. And in that mutual fund, you'll see how your money continues to grow at a 10 or 12%. But what that would do, I'm going to show you how that would offset some of the income of your loved one. But you know that you at least have $100,000 to take care of some of the things that you need. And you'll have that additional $200,000 sitting in a mutual fund that's going to pay you dividends based on that interest that will help you offset the income that your loved one actually had. In addition to whatever they have in terms of 401ks, retirement, you can put all of that over into a mutual fund. But simply having a life insurance policy could open the door for that type of an investment. And in the community that I'm serving, in the community that I desire to transform, which I call marginalized community, in any marginalized community, we need to know more about that. I want to be able to give you information on that to be able to help you transform. Income and asset protection helps you do that. You ever bought a home and then all of a sudden you receive all these pieces of mail that's telling you to get a coverage for the amount of the home that you purchased? You should. If you can qualify for it, the younger you buy insurance, the better. But you should, so that should something happen to you, they could either pay the house off, which I wouldn't encourage. I would encourage that they invest into the mutual fund, term life. You are to keep that. They invest into a mutual fund that could potentially give them the income that you would have had over time. And when they need to tap into those dollars, they're there. They will continue to be there. And it's paying at a 10 or 12%. If you want to know more about asset protection, solely asset and income protection, you want to hear more about the term life, I want you to contact me. My number, you can text or call. We will set an appointment for you to talk more about your protection for you and your family. Are you protected? Is your income protected? Would your asset be protected? Do you have the right policy? I would even offer to review any policy that you have. My main goal, you guys know, many of you, I sell real estate, I'm the owner of a paint brand, and I am developing in these marginalized communities. So I am working to help people build, or should I say, income protection and asset protection. I want to see you win. I want you to have what you need. You need the information that you need. We can review your policies and what you have. We can go over your information. We are here bringing transformation to the community, and it starts with the people. And then you'll see me. I have a building going up. So it's all juggling at the same time. And how I got into this office, just so you know, how I got into the insurance is since 2013, I've been telling people they should call Primerica. They should call Primerica. But I didn't want to get into the weeds of offering the policies myself, right? And so a couple years back, one of my clients retired from the NFL, or came out of the NFL, And I was asking him to participate in development. And so he said, well, I want to tell you what I'm doing. I want to share with you what I'm doing. I'm in a new role. I'm tired of paying fish fries. I'm tired of paying for funerals. I've jumped into the financial education arena, right? And so what he did was he said, I'm doing insurance with Primerica. And I was like, oh, great. I love Primerica. I want to use them. I need them. And so I said, so let's work together. And he said, no, I typically get involved with a lot of what he does. And he said, I want you to join. I want you to be a part of it. I need you to jump in and you help us to get the word out to people about educating them financially. People are missing out on this. He's even taking his own dollars by the ring where he had investors. He had financial advisors, some of the best for the wealthy folks, the best in the business. He's going to be responsible for his own money because he's learned some things as a result of being, the person that oversees his dollars. And so what he did was he told me that in order for me to come in East Tampa and put an office there, I want to see you commit to helping to educate the people as well. You have credibility, you have people that you're already offering this information in your workshop, and you not rich enough that you can turn down money and give it to me. Like that would be crazy of you. So I took the criticism, but I turned it into something positive. I went ahead and got licensed, and we went ahead and discussed putting the office in East Tampa on Nebraska, where we're going to have people that look like many other people in the community talking through income and asset protection. So we're offering financial services because we know that financial education is bigger than you guys having, your savings and checking account, right? We know it goes beyond that. So financial services, in addition to checking and savings, is life insurance. It's budgeting your finances. It's when you buy the home, it's having your income and asset protected. It's investing in, and I say investing in mutual funds, particularly when I can tell you you're going to be from 9 to 12%. They've been doing that number for the many, many, many moons. Like it's been many, many, many moons that they've offered those high yield or higher interest rate than your average bank. Look at your bank statement and see how much they're giving you on your money. It's peanuts. You'll see the importance of any extra you have to put in the mutual fund and begin to concentrate dollars into the mutual fund. So this is what we'll be talking about when we come on here. Fix the block. Fix the block is me, yes, out in the community doing the community cleanups and bring the transformation to the community, but it's also making deposits into people. It's also educating people. And one of the ways we fix the block is through financial literacy or through financial education and protecting your income and your assets. That's very important for us tonight. So that's what this live is all about. You'll start to see me share the next one. Like I said, I'm going to talk through and show you the difference between the two. Income and asset protection, I'm going to show you what it looks like, where you can put in your number, and we'll do some examples right here on this live or this show, so we can talk through what this looks like. I want you to share this video. I want you to subscribe, and we're going to talk through income and asset protection, i.e. via life insurance, and how we transform communities through financial education and literacy as well. So thank you so much for joining. I am Kella McCaskill. I am also a licensed agent. I will be happy to have anybody on our team, myself, work with you. Let's review your policies, because I'm not big on trying to fight things that's not factual. Let's look at the contract and line by line, go over the details to make sure what you thought is what you're getting. And is this the absolute best situation for you and your family, and how we can get you into something that helps you protect income and your asset. Thank you so much for joining. My number, if you want to call me or text, my number is 813-841-9462. All right, family, thank you so much. Anybody can call if you have any questions regarding the income and asset protection or your policy. You want us to review it. You want to talk through clean up in your marginalized community, whatever. Call that number. I'm happy to help. All right, I'm signing out.